What's good? I'm Skip.
And I'm DJ.
And this is DeCypherEd. And today we are breaking down Kendrick Lamar's major album, major studio release. Not first album though, but major studio release, Good Kid, M.A.A.D City.
Yeah.
And before we get into that, how you doing today, DJ?
Doing pretty good. We here. Let's locked and loaded.
Yes, sir. Go. And I can't complain. So without further ado, let's jump into this album. Good Kid, M.A.A.D City was at the release considered one of the most creative and stellar albums to be released in that early time. And in the 10 years since, it is without a doubt being considered one of the best hip hop albums of all time. In fact, Rolling Stone released an article saying that it is the best concept album all time.
Really?
Across music, not just rap.
Damn.
And they also said it was 115 out of the top 500. But that's, I don't know what other albums was in there, but high praise, of course.
Yeah.
You already know with Kendrick, he doesn't have step when it comes to creating his music, even if it does take a little time. But I think that's a good enough reason because the music always comes out with, and it leaves his true fans with the sense of appreciation for the time he took to create it. And the nigga want to take time to live his life. But before we get into the album in its totality, first, I want to discuss some of the initial thoughts that we had on the album. Yeah. Would you like to go first, my brother?
Yeah. I give two perspectives. My initial thoughts back then, when it first came out, and this is coming off the heels of his feature on Take Care, where Drake, gave him basically a whole interlude to let him rock. You know what I'm saying? So I was really coming into my own as far as learning who Kendrick was. And Drake was one of my favorites at that time. So for him to be on that record and then come directly after that with this album, I was like, okay, I'm locked in. I want to hear what he got. Because before this point, I didn't hear Overly Dedicated or Section 80. I heard this was my first time hearing a full body of work from Kendrick was Good Kid, M.A.A.D City. So the fact that I knew about Kendrick from the XV verse, textbook stuff, that was the first time I actually ever heard Kendrick. And then when I heard him on Take Care, I was excited to hear a whole project when they said it, he had a whole album coming. So initially I was just like, yeah, this he gonna be one of those ones I feel that's just gonna be around for a long time. And I was right. Because Kendrick is definitely much still here.
And
very much
going nowhere.
He ain't going nowhere. And he's very much elevated his music and his artistry since then. And honestly, I would say this is probably his, I may be wrong in saying this, but I think this is his most digestible album, I feel. The easiest listen out of all of his albums so far, I feel. Like I said, I may be alone in that, but that's just how I personally feel about it. But yeah, back then I was just hyped to see what he had next after listening to him on Take Care. And now listen to the album again. I'm not gonna say listen to it because like Good Kid, M.A.A.D City has always been in my rotation of music. So it never really fell out of rotation. So I've always listened to it, but listening to it again in preparation for the review, it just really just made me respect Kendrick as an artist because he just didn't start trying to build a narrative of his career with To Pimp a Butterfly or with Damn or Mr. Morale. He didn't start then. He started here 100% in terms of trying to craft and create a story that's one, interesting. It makes you interested, invested. That's what I'm looking for. Creating a story that makes you invested in where he comes from and where he's going to go next. And for the most part, I think he did a great job on this album. Now listen to it again. I don't have a really, I have one little slight complaint about it, but I just feel as though the sequencing of the songs could have been a little different. But other than that, I don't have a single complaint about this album. I love it from top to finish, including the deluxe version with the bonus songs on it. Now, granted, you can tell he made those songs, I feel, after this album. because just the vibe and the content of those songs versus what was on the original version of the album, I feel is a little bit different tonal shift. I feel, but I still feel as though like if you listen to the deluxe version, you still can get a complete picture of what he wanted to convey during that time.
I just think they weren't necessarily on par. Either they were like too far outside of the story, or the overall quality of the song just didn't quite meet the level of Good Kid, M.A.A.D City as a collective of tracks.
Yeah, I think it was more so him after he got that fame, I feel. Because with Black Boy Flyer, Now or Never definitely for sure is after like he's attained some type of notoriety. You know what I'm saying? And what was the other one? The Recipe? Yeah.
But no, actually with The Recipe, that was the first song recorded for the entire project.
Yeah. You're right. So yeah, Black Boy Flyer and Now or Never for sure.
It very least sounds like it was made after, because it's more of a reflection. Especially Now or Never, it feels like it's a reflection of like him stepping into stardom. Yeah. And he hadn't really done that per se until the release of this album. Yeah. So yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, definitely a classic. I definitely feel this album's a classic, 100%. I don't care what you say. You can't really debate. You can debate all you want to. I'm not going to go back and forth with you on it because I just know how I feel about it. And I definitely feel as though this album is a classic and it deserves to be on the wall.
And I am a Kendrick fan. Yeah. I want to say that first and foremost. But secondly, I'm also an objective music listener. Yeah. But this is a classic album. It's quite possibly the best album of the 2010s. I'm willing to stand on that. Yeah. It might even be a top 20 rap album of all time. And I think I can probably say that pretty firmly as well. But I'm so glad that you brought up XV, and I'm not going to do it, not going to make a long story about this. But that wasn't the first place I heard him, but that was one, I think that's the first place I recall hearing him from. And back then, XV, at least to my knowledge, was a bigger name than Kendrick was. So like Kendrick, he was finding himself. His voice wasn't as boisterous as it was. He still had the skill, but this is more so like probably Kendrick Lamar EP days, maybe even a little bit before that.
Yeah,
like
I think it was a little bit before that.
I think Zero Heroes probably came out in 2009. Shout out to XV. Yeah, man. Zero Heroes and The Layovers were two great projects. So
and Popular Culture.
Yeah, so if you see this, bro,
shout out to XV.
Shout out to XV, bro. Because you created like the lane that you stood in. I don't understand how it didn't properly translate, but you were creating some great music, bro. So shout out to you.
Like that song, Andy Warhol, bro. Yeah, so
XV was fire. Yeah, but to my initial thoughts, like DJ said, it's a classic album, bro. This is his first major studio release. It has tones and remnants of Boys in the Hood, which, you know, a lot, like some people would say like it's a ripoff of it in a sense, but it's not really. It's more, the crazy thing about it is it shows how common
that lifestyle
is, and how common that those four guys who got caught up in that particular story, it could be any four guys in California during the time. Like,
if anything, like you said, it could be looked at as like one of the most authentic pieces of work.
Exactly. Art reflects life, because when you think about it, Boys in the Hood was a story that was created. We don't know if it was based on true events, but Kendrick's was. Yeah. So it's, you know, it's just like that art reflected, you know, the life of not only Kendrick, but a lot of people who grew up during that time in that specific place and everywhere else. You know, it just shows like how prevalent, you know, the things that happened in this album were, you know, and are. I feel like this is an amazingly produced album. The cohesiveness of it, although it's a lot of diverse sounds, it's still cohesive. And it's like, in review of this album, you can almost hear like pieces of To Pimp a Butterfly in it. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, like he was working on that sound the whole time. Even back to Section 80, you can hear like him working to his magnum opus, which is To Pimp a Butterfly. But that's another story for another day. But yeah, man, classic album. Great introduction to Kendrick if you hadn't heard him before. I was Lucky enough to have been handed Section 80 in like 2011 or early 2012, I should say. And that led me to go back and listen to O.D. and Kendrick Lamar EP. So by the time Good Kid, M.A.A.D City came, I was well versed in who he was as an artist. So I was excited. And when I heard it, blown away. So let's get into some of this stuff, man. Before we get into our favorite tracks, it is a question I want to ask you, man. And before I get into that, real quick, apologies. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate every subscriber we've gotten this far, every comment, every like, and every share. But if you are new to the channel and you like what we got so far, make sure to do those things and help us grow on the algorithm. And follow us on Instagram, DeCypher Media Group, DeCypher Media Group. Thank you. DJ, who had the better verse on Poetic Justice?
Ooh. Drake verse is actually really good, but I'm going to say Kendrick.
I got a theory.
Kendrick low-key watched him, but I like Drake verse though.
He did. I think Kendrick wanted to prove the point that he wanted to get him on that type of song and out-rap him.
I ain't mad at it.
In the matter of like not, because to this point, like Kendrick hadn't been perceived. It's like to his core fans that were with him prior to Good Kid, M.A.A.D City, he wasn't perceived to be like a romantic type writer. So for him to get on a song like this with the biggest, the biggest young artists of the time. Let me correct myself.
I mean, he was definitely
Drake,
on the come up still.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was definitely bigger than Kendrick.
If I'm not mistaken, Take Care was out.
Take Care came out the year before.
Yeah, so he had reached, like Drake was that nigga by this point in time. So what I'm saying is, and like everybody had known Drake for being this super emotionally aware rapper. You know what I'm saying? So he brought him on a song of that ilk and did this. So I think Kendrick in his mind, bro, he did that with the intention to make a point. It wasn't like I'm gonna watch you. I'm not bringing you here to. It's a different version of the Control verse. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like I got a point to prove with this.
You know what? Now that you say that, it makes sense because just the content of what he was rapping, like he was rapping, like I mean Drake was rapping directly to the girl, of course, but like. Kendrick's was definitely more personal and more heartfelt. Like he's literally trying to make a connection
with her, yeah.
And it almost sounds like it could have been like something from Poetic Justice.
And it was more corny as this is gonna sound. His verses were much more poetic than Drake's.
Yeah,
like Drake's verse was fire. Yeah, like Drake had a great verse, especially for that time. Kendrick like laid down some very articulate, well-spoken raps that included like a bunch of metaphors, like and we'll get into that as we go through it. But yeah, I feel like he did an amazing job like writing on that song.
Now that you say that, I can definitely see that. Like initially, I just thought it was just a swap for a swap. Yeah. You know, he was on Take Care, I'll be on your album, like type shit. But I mean, yeah, because Drake didn't rap on Take Care with Kendrick. He just gave him a whole interlude to rap on his own. And low key, at that point in the album, he kind of stole the show a little bit.
He went in.
Just to be real, but that's another subject for another day. But I could see what you mean, though. Just to prove to like, bro, I could literally do whatever the fuck y'all say. I could do everything, bro. Like, I'm that nigga.
So let's get into some of the favorite tracks. Of the album, and I'll go first. Don't Kill My Vibe, Art of Peer Pressure, Money Trees, Good Kid, M.A.A.D City, and Sing About Me Dying of Thirst. Honorable mention, Backseat Freestyle.
I'll probably say, Sing About Me Down of Thirst, Swimming Pools. I really like Compton, bro. I think Just Blaze did a great job with Compton. Yeah. I like the song Compton. I like Good Kid. I like M.A.A.D City. And The Art of Peer Pressure is probably my other one. And honestly, when I listen to the album, truthfully, I mean, I know the story starts from track 1, but I really feel as though the album doesn't really truly start until The Art of Peer Pressure.
I saw something the other day. It was a while ago, but it was saying that the album is not in sequential order.
Yeah, it's not because I made a playlist of how I thought it should go, just based off how the songs went and based on how the skits went. And then it's a totally different album when you listen to it like that. Run through them
real quick.
Well, I mean, like I said, this is just my opinion, but I got The Art of Peer Pressure with the first track. Then I got Compton with number 2, Shireen 3, Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, Backseat Freestyle. Then I got Money Trees, Poetic Justice. Then from there, I got Real, Good Kid, M.A.A.D City, Swimming Pools. Then Sing About Me will be the final song on the album. Then, of course, you got the bonus songs. But Sing About Me will be the last song, the way I structured it on the album. And I actually liked it even better than the original lineup. And that's how I started listening to it this week, was this way. Because it didn't really bother me per se, but I preferred to have it like in order of how like the skits were going at the end of each song. It just made more sense. It made it flow easier in terms of like the story it was telling. Now, granted, the beats is definitely different from track to track. Like it's not like one singular sound he was going for, but that don't really bother me. Like all of them still slap all the same way. And I feel as though it just made a little bit more sense when I put it in that order in terms of just storytelling. But I've always felt that way. And I didn't do it until now. But even back then, I was just like, why you talk about this? And we talked about that in the first song. You know what I'm saying? So I can definitely see if that was the intention, just like he did. Well, did they say damn? Was that on purpose where you can read it back or listen to it backwards? Or okay. So I think he probably definitely did that on this too.
Check this out. I found something on Rap Genius going to the point that you're making.
Yeah.
But there are 3 orders to this. The album track list.
Yeah.
There is a chronological order.
Yeah.
Compton, Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, Backseat Freestyle, Art of Peer Pressure, Money Trees, Poetic Justice, Shireen, Good Kid, M.A.A.D City, Swimming Pool, Sing About Me, Real. And then there's an alternate narrative order. Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, Backseat Freestyle, Art of Peer Pressure, Money Trees, Shireen, Poetic Justice. So basically they're just changing, making Shireen later.
Yeah.
Introducing the album with Compton, which is a glorification, just opening the scene, just letting you know, okay, now we're in Compton.
Yeah, I had it number 2.
And so there is a thing about it being, because I had saw it not too long ago, but I didn't know we was going to review this, so I didn't screenshot it or nothing like that. But that was pretty close to, I think, what I saw.
Yeah. So that's just another nod and another like token towards like Kendrick's actual artistry.
I'm gonna put it in a playlist and see how it go.
Yeah, it lets you know that he like really puts a lot into what he presents in terms of constructing the album, that it can be played in so many different ways. And sometimes it tells a different story or just tells the story a little bit better this way versus this. Like that's just really like passion. You can tell like in really true intent in making an album. And that's something I feel as though a lot of artists are really missing. Just in general, with making albums nowadays, people just put out albums just to put out an album. But back then, and especially a little bit before then, like late 90s, but definitely during this time frame right here, people actually cared about what the album sounded like and what went into the album.
Oh yeah. So you know what? Let's get into one of my favorite songs on the album, which talks about this in particular.
Yeah.
Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe.
Okay.
And on Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, and I'm that's the last time I'm gonna say the B word. But on Don't Kill My Vibe, that the song itself is about it's a crazy flip because it was created to be a radio single. But the biggest part about it is I'm not going to conform to the standards of the radio and what everybody else thinks is cool. So I was like, it's a juxtaposition between denying radio acceptance and vanity of fame versus artistry and real life music. So like, if you go back and listen to the verses, and that's why I have a hard time understanding when people say, but I mean, he has 4 extremely dense albums, but like, if you're counting Section 80, I feel like Section 80 is his most accessible. But like this album in itself is extremely layered. Like people don't listen to this song for what he's saying in the verse.
They don't.
in a lot of songs also. Like he was just as deep. It was just different subject matter, but he was just as deep on this album.
Just like when you said about when we did the Morale on N95, like if you just listening for the beat, you totally missing everything he's saying, bro.
And if you just listening to the beat on Worldwide Steppers, or just listen to the point that he was smashing a white girl, the whole thing like goes over your head. And it's like the dope thing about this album is, and just Kendrick Lamar in general, is like probably outside of To Pimp a Butterfly, he makes music that can be absorbed from the everyday listener, a critic, a music enthusiast, and like people in literary spaces. So it's like he meets you where you are, and that is a talent because a lot of people can't do that.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like the Beat Don't Kill My Vibe song is so important, because he's making a grandstand to his core fans. Like, y'all don't have to worry about that. I am not going to sell out to be considered dope. I'm going to make myself dope doing what I feel I have been tasked and chosen to do.
And he's definitely shown that with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers,
To Pimp a Butterfly, Damn, like he showed that I can make dope music talking about what I want to talk about.
Yep.
Another one of my favorite tracks is we got to this part. So another one of my favorite tracks is The Art of Peer Pressure. And I'm just doing like tiny themes because I got a deeper theme that I want to talk about. This is the invasion of real life by way of his friends.
Of course.
Anytime you're around your friends and it's a large collection of people who have like the majority opinion, sometimes you wilt under that pressure and you find yourself doing stuff that you wouldn't normally do, let it be by yourself or with a different collection of people. So I thought this was dope, that the way that he chose to tell this story and the way that he did not look down on his friends during this time. Like he illustrated, like, I'm right with them doing it. You know, even though it's not something I would normally do, I'm not above it, you know, and so much so that I'm willing to do it when in the right circumstances. Another one of my favorite tracks is Money Trees.
Well, hold on. Let me
go ahead.
Go back to Art of Peer Pressure real quick. And just definitely how he did the skits in general. But that song in particular, I just really like how his presence is felt, but he doesn't speak or say a word. His friends is speaking for him in every sense of the word in every one of those skits, but his presence is still felt in those moments. And that's something you just can't do off a happenstance. Like, that's intentional.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So just the fact that it was just that powerful and it stays with you throughout the rest of the album, like, I just think that's genius, man.
And I think that allows the listener to go on the ride and assume the position of Kendrick.
Right, exactly.
Which is like artistic and like film type mastery within itself. So much so that he made a 15-minute short film, had a 15-minute short film created, titled, if I'm not mistaken, Compton, around the creation of this project. Third one, Money Trees. The desire of money leads to crime, greed, envy, and sex. That, says all that it needs to say within itself. Good Kid, stuck between two evil powers, gang violence and police. And the red and blue symbolism is driven through the entirety of that song. M.A.A.D City, a first-hand account of the perils of the streets of Compton, and words from an OG from the hood, know, to kind of like give you like tips and tricks to live by. Since you here, this is how I survived and how I held my own here. So if you need help, just follow these rules. Kind of like the 10 crap commandments, kind of. Just not giving out so expressly, like one by one. And finally, Sing About Me Dying of Thirst.
And I really like how, like, he didn't really address it a lot, but it definitely comes up on how he deals with, or how he comes to terms with, like, his vices in terms of drinking and smoking or whatever. So imagine your first blunt, how you foaming at the mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that just changes his whole perspective. And I've had a similar experience to that as well. So I definitely understood where he was coming from. And it was, well, it wasn't, was it? Yeah, it was probably around this time frame, actually, where I had my experience with a situation like that when this album came out. And that changed my whole view on how, I just, Like, I wasn't like foaming, but I can tell that something was laced.
Yeah.
in this shit, and it made me feel horrible. And how he addressed as far as falling into the depression with the drinking, and how like from then to now on Mr. Morale, how he addressed it. I like where it started and how it ends. Mm-hmm. So I just think that's really important on the content that he puts in the projects and how he evolves from it. And like you said, the only way you can really do that is by living your life. And that's why it's important that, I mean, I don't think he purposely gives his albums time to breathe in between, but it just happens like that because he's living his life.
Yeah, you need experience to tell these stories. Lauryn Hill said it the best. Like, a next album didn't come immediately after because there was no experience.
Right.
And the songs that I was making weren't as good as Miseducation due to the lack of experience. Yeah. So you got to go live life to come back and have something to talk about. And I feel like he does a great job of that. And, you know, like, hey, man, chill out. Like, I got a job where I can dip in and dip out at my leisure. So I don't have to be present. Like, my music doesn't, my artistry isn't predicated on being in y'all face all the time. I come and make an impact that lasts for years and then I dip. But what are your favorite tracks? Did you go through yours?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Let's get into probably my favorite part of the DeCypherEd episodes, especially when the albums are good, is themes and concepts. Do you want to go first?
You go ahead.
All right.
I'll weave in and out with you.
Okay. So I was listening to the album in review, getting ready for this project. I mean, for this episode. And I came across something that kind of like upped my antennas. And this is something I've always known. Like, Kendrick is not a gospel artist. Kendrick is not a Christian artist. Yeah. However, Kendrick's faith and his journey of his faith has been prevalent through all of his music. And with this, the presence of sin, the consequences, revelation, and rebirth is throughout this album. So much so, I feel like this album is
grounded.
Of course it's grounded because he's that guy. If I told you that a flower blew in a dark room, would you trust it? It had to be grounded somewhere for it to do that. But the point that I'm getting to is this album is a greater magnification into the 7 deadly sins. And I know a lot of people who listen to it don't necessarily get that. It's taken me 10 years, 11 years to get even to an inkling of this realization.
Okay. And I didn't think about that either. Go ahead.
And a couple of songs, well, not even a couple, more than half of the songs illustrated in a way that made it very apparent to me once I came to the realization. Number 1, Shireen, is lust.
Lust, yeah.
Money trees, greed, swimming pools, gluttony, backseat freestyle, pride, Good Kid and M.A.A.D City, wrath, Sing About Me, sloth, and Art of Peer Pressure is envy. I went through them and listened, and I have a slew of lyrics that we can get through when the time presents itself. But in addition to that theme, of course, this is on the more digestible front-facing side. This is a day in the life of Compton, and any one situation can change your life forever. And another piece that adds to the faith aspect of this album is the prayer serves to start and cap the album in an attempt to allude to and break the cycle of commitment to these deadly sins and turn their life to Christ, or possibly the most difficult time. And finally, the voicemails progress through the story to add a level of angst as it continues. Every time they call, it's a little bit more of a worry. Yeah. So much so to when you get to real, it's like, hey, if you don't come back today, or if, but if you do make it back, take this opportunity to like change your life and speak to people and let them know about positivity. Like, that's the best way that you can give back if you make it out. So,
what his dad said? But God is love, nigga.
Yeah. God is taking care of your family. God is love. I mean, what is it? Yeah, God is love, nigga. nigga was probably looking like
he sobered up on that voicemail.
Nigga was looking like Gilly the Kid. God is love, nigga. 18
But yeah, I really like how you said that too, because yeah, each of the skits or voicemails definitely got it progressed like more, so they worried more and more because they know the lifestyle that he's into or that's just out there in general. And the longer that he's gone, every single day they have to worry about is he's really coming home. You know,
and the dad, it was like,
I'll be back. 15 minutes.
Don't have to learn the hard way like I did.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be back 15 minutes.
Nigga was gone for hours. A whole day sounded like.
He was gone the whole day.
That nigga, it was a school night.
Because he left his mama van at wherever the fuck he left it at.
Yeah.
So anything could have happened to that fucking van while he was gone.
And got out and got into all types of trouble.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Kendrick was wilding, bro.
Yeah, man.
But let's get into, and we're going to come back and circle through these themes because the lyrics give more context to what I was trying to put together.
Yeah.
So my favorite beats, Shireen, Master Splinter's what? Is it Master Splinter's daughter?
Yeah, Master Splinter's daughter.
Master Splinter's daughter, produced by The Business. Backseat Freestyle, produced by Hit Boy.
Shout out to Hit Boy, man.
Fun fact. The beat for Backseat Freestyle was originally intended for Sierra.
What Sierra could have did with that?
I have no idea, and I'm glad she didn't get it. The Art of Peer Pressure, produced by Taboo.
Yeah.
M.A.A.D City, produced by Soundwave, THC, and Terrence Martin. Good Kid, produced by Pharrell. Sing About Me and Dying of Thirst, produced by Soundwave, Sky Hutch, and Like.
Mine will probably be Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, Compton. I really like Compton, bro. I think Dr. Dre did a good job with Compton.
Kendrick wrote the hell out of them verses. All 6 songs. No,
that's on the recipe. You talking about he was rapping?
Kendrick wrote them verses too.
Oh, okay. but yeah, Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, Compton, Art of Peer Pressure, Backseat Freestyle, Real, and Money Trees. Those will probably be my favorite ones. Swimming Pools is okay. I mean, I like it, but I definitely think a lot of the other beats are a little bit better than Swimming Pools. But anyway, it's still a great.
Because all the production is good. It's just hard to choose your favorite beat when all the beats are at least very good.
But yeah, I'd probably say like my top 2 though is probably Real and Compton. Those are probably my top 2.
Okay.
Of the whole thing.
Okay. So, feel goods.
Yeah,
feel
man.
Goods. I like it. Let's get into some of these lyrics, and I'm pretty sure did you bring the steno pad today?
No, I didn't bring the steno pad.
Well, don't worry, my brother, because I got you.
I see you got it.
I got you, my brother.
Let's
get started on Don't Kill My Vibe. And
okay,
go ahead.
Bruh, I want to say that I feel as though I don't know if like this was it probably was intentional, knowing that it's Kendrick. But I feel as though the Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe remix, right, with Jay-Z, I feel as though that was his crowning moment in the fact that, like, I'm really him, like, I'm here, bro.
Yeah.
Because Jay-Z did not give a bad verse. Like, Jay-Z verse was fire, bro. But
you should have saw how evil Kendrick was after the face he had after he heard the verse. He was like, oh, yeah, I'm finna.
Kendrick took, like, that's when he became him, like, to everybody. Because it's like, without a shadow of a doubt, like, Kendrick beat Jay-Z on that song. Hands down. Like, it's not, it don't matter that he had 2 verses. It don't matter. The verses were better, like flat out better. And he really took the opportunity to just like show what he can really do. And I think Jay-Z really respected him for that. Now, granted, they never rapped again.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really feel
but I don't think they never mentally aligned again.
Yeah.
That was just like a passing of the torch type thing. Like, I see you, my nigga, like young homie.
Yeah, I see you, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And
so he was like, he passed him the torch, and then Kendrick was like, okay, now that you passed it, I got to take off with it. And that's what that second verse was to me. Yeah. That was him taking off with the torch being handed to him.
Yeah, but go ahead. I just had to make that known. Like, that was definitely Kendrick's, like, I am him moment to the whole world.
Yeah, because the first verse was more so of a, like, hey, like, such and such months in review. The album that I knew was fire, y'all see it now, right? Trinidad James in 4 weeks, gold, and now my album platinum and shit. But so what? Y'all keep the numbers.
Yeah.
I'm more than another statistic, my nigga. This is courtesy of Compton.
Brooklyn, go hard, motherfucker.
And then I wonder if of course, I wonder if like he wrote that and then that verse it ended up getting axed. Because it's like he was just paying homage to all of these artists. Like, hey, I'm here like, I'm not quite on y'all level yet, but my eyes are on the Pantheon. I'm not worried about the guys I'm not worried about my peers. You know what I mean? Like, I'm focused on being one of the greats. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna pay homage to them because y'all are who I aspire to be when I sit down and do this rap shit.
And and I think that's the difference between Drake and Kendrick. And that's why it always be, I mean, granted, most people view them like as a 1A or 1B of that era for sure. Like they are top 2 or 1, however you want to look at it, whatever. But I feel so that is that point to me is what separates Drake from Kendrick, because Drake always wants to be accepted by his peers, but also at the same time look down on them, versus Kendrick was like, nah, I see what y'all doing, but I know where my place at.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to rap with them. I'm trying to be what they at. Yeah. And the work that he's put in, I feel as though the people have grown to respect that and place him where he should be. And honestly, I feel as though just artistically for sure, that's over Drake. Like hands down. Lyrically, musically, how to structure the album, he's over Drake, hands down. But I mean, of course, we can do all the numbers and the streaming and, just the actual entertainment side of it. Of course, Drake, you got to give that to him. But as an artist, I'm definitely getting that to Kendrick. And that's where he separated himself.
All right, we back. What were we talking about before we stop?
I'll go into the lyric breakdown for Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe.
Oh, yes. Okay. We have, and I didn't get a whole lot, but the parts that I got were super important based on the point I was making earlier about the radio thing and real life and real music. He said, look inside of my soul and you can find gold and maybe get rich. Look inside of your soul and you can find out it didn't exist. Like,
shit.
Basically saying,
shit.
But for real, like almost on some like food for thought shit. Like, I'm here to feed the soul. I'm here to, or I have like the true value of me is internal. And if you don't have that, which goes into the later pieces of the song, you tend to cling on vanity. You tend to cling on external sources for validation. But the goal that he had was already inside. You know what I mean? So all of the...
What Tay-Ron said, my man ain't got no soul.
That nigga said, you can find out it didn't exist. You know what I'm saying? So that just goes to show, like, he's drawing a line in the sand of who he is and what he looks to display. And that is I'm here to express the best parts of my spirit. And if you don't have that, we won't relate. And the people who also don't have that, who are in music, I also won't relate to you on that level, because you will always look to the chains and the watches and all of the points of vanity to make it seem like you are like that. That is where your value comes from. That is where your sense of success comes from. And mine comes from being able to express myself on a high level while maintaining my integrity and not allowing those things that y'all let define me. And in reference to his constant, like, just to show how much the aspect of faith is interwoven into this album, you go into the hook, which is one of his biggest, was definitely the biggest single of this album.
Yeah, of course.
But it has went on to be one of the biggest singles of his career. I'm a sinner who's probably gonna sin again. Lord forgive me. Lord forgive me. Things I don't understand. Sometimes I need to be alone. That goes to show, like, okay, I'm not perfect, and I'm reiterating that fact, and asking for forgiveness along the way in the midst of being around people who may not have souls of gold, who are more so willing to do these things just for fame and acclaim. Like, my sin comes from my iniquity. So I am begging for forgiveness because I want to be in your good graces. I want to walk in the light of God. You know what I'm saying? Like, these aren't things that he has to say super duper, especially in this album, but they still come across just as much because he's creating an opposing side, which is pretty much the music industry in totality. You know, there are a few good seeds throughout the music industry, but as a whole, it is more so on this more soulless approach in existence. So, and to the point of him going against the radio and what people will look to as successful music as it is in the mainstream, is I'm trying to keep it alive and not compromise the feeling we love. You're trying to keep it deprived and only co-sign what radio does. And I'm looking right past you. We live in the world on two different axles. And then the stuff that he goes into after that is just more so expressing, who said, you're living behind the mirror. I know what you're scared of. The feeling emotions inferior. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are so scared to be your true self because you feel like in the moment that you do that, you allow people to see you as you truly are. And in that, you have a fear of feeling insignificant amongst the crowd of your peers and onlookers. So he like, I'm willing to step out on that and take the risk because I believe in myself and I know I'm a good person. Yeah. And in the end, those who have faith and are aligned with their God tend to win out. The good God, the one true God. Let me say that. You got anything you want to get off from?
We good, bro.
Hey, I had to make that point clear.
Yeah.
But you got any points you want to get off on?
No, we good on that.
But yeah, he just wanted to let y'all niggas know, man, we on two different axles, bro. We living for two completely different reasons, and it shows itself in the music, and it shows who aligns itself with the music or not. Hey, I know this is a business, but I'm aligned with the biggest CEO there is. So you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get my what he said on To Pimp a Butterfly. He's like, how I'm rewarded. Well, that's God's decision. You know what I mean? So let's move forward to Art of Peer Pressure. And this song was, as I stated before, well, Art of Peer Pressure is envy. And there are two different stages of envy. From what I learned today, there is a benign envy and there is a malignant envy. Okay. Benign envy is the envy that you experience that can elicit positive results. You can see somebody with something and it can drive you to attain it for yourself. And then you have malignant envy, which is like, oh, I see somebody with something that I want and I want to take it. And in this song, Art of Peer Pressure, there is a lot of malignant envy from two different viewpoints. I see his friend circle as envious of him from the aspect of he's the good kid of the group. Yeah. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't drink. He's not in a gang. Like, he has two parents. He's not, they're all struggling together, living in the community of Compton. However, he is able to be freed of some of those things due to how his upbringing is. Some people are forced into it. Everybody doesn't do that stuff because they want to, and they're envious of the fact that he doesn't have to, nor does he necessarily want to the point where he's willing to join and become, but these are his friends, so he's around them by, proximity and, the friendship that they have. And also there's another envy that they all share, Kendrick included. This envy is when they went to the other side of town and they saw, the light-skinned girls and bougie chicks with no extensions, hood niggas with bad intentions. The perfect combination. You know what I mean? So they around these girls from the other side of town, who seem to have money and things that they don't have. So they want that life, and they're envious of the other guys from that side of town who have it. So that ultimately leads to them pressing them. Not only that, but the gang relation the gang ties that they have. And then there's a bigger situational envy that is the center reason around why they're on the other side of town, and that's the robbery. Yeah. They want to take from that house that they've been staking out for 2 months because they are envious of what is potentially inside, because they know for a fact that that house is a representation of a life they don't live. Therefore, it is a high possibility of going inside the house, seeing things that they don't have. And
I want to touch on that real quick. Just the fact that, like you said, Kendrick wasn't really a game banger. He didn't smoke. He didn't drink. But the fact of being in that environment for so long with people that he cared about, he ultimately ended up doing a lot of the same things that they was doing without claiming it.
Yeah.
And one of the lines, he was like, before we sparked the conversation, we seen 3 niggas in colors we didn't like.
Starting
interrogating. I was never a game bagger. I mean, I was never a stranger to the funk neither. I really doubt it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's just kind of like the fact that if you in a particular situation or an environment so long, it's going to affect you in some form of fashion at some point.
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, they've been staking out this place. I didn't realize it was 2 months, but I guess that kind of makes sense in terms of like the overall store. But yeah, the fact that they were staking this place out with the full intent of taking, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be able to live with those consequences, and his friends are willing to live with that shit. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know if he truly was though, but he just did it because he had to.
I'm usually a true firm believer of bad karma. Consequences from evil to make it pass on you.
Exactly.
Trying to conquer the city with disobedience. Quick to turn it up even if we ain't got the CD in. But Jeezy still playing, and the attitude is still, nigga, what is you saying? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, hey, I understand. Like, I have a level of self-awareness that my friends might not necessarily have the ability to have at the front of their mind. Yeah. I know some of this stuff is bad, and I know normally I wouldn't be really invested in this type of shit, but the art of peer pressure, some motherfucker. So like, I'm with it. Like, for the time being, I'm with it. Like, if it was under my own volition, I probably wouldn't do it, but I'm with the homies. Like, and so it's probably gonna happen.
And honestly, I feel as though that's kind of a testament to his parents. To let, like, even though like they didn't have full control over him, where he's at, what he was doing, they still instilled enough values in him to know the difference and not be so jaded or so, like, his vision is so blurred that he doesn't really understand that what the fuck he's doing is really wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That comes from having values instilled in you at home. Now, granted, I mean, I know people can succeed without a 2-parent household. I know people who've done it. I get that. But that's still like a testament that of having a mother and a father present can do for you, even in the worst of situations, that he's able to have that conscious effort to be like, you know, in a sense, like, to basically get them out of these situations that they're in. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to be able to think ahead.
Yeah.
And these niggas, they always think and live in the moment.
Facts.
Every single situation that they was in, they was living in that fucking moment. Last time I checked, I was the man on these streets.
I'm trying to be the nigga in the streets.
Like that shit, that thought process, like, it's so like fleeting. Because you can be the nigga today and be gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
I hope the universe love you today, because the energy we bring in should carry you well, like a positive activist, and fill their body with hate if it's necessary. Like, and that's what, like, and that goes to show, like, how easy it is to adopt these feelings. Like, all we have to do is come into the room and project them, or come into the space and project them. So imagine what's going on with Kendrick. Like, you know, he already don't drink, he don't smoke. They coming in projecting that energy. Like, so it's like, hey, he pick up the bottle. Hey, he hit the blunt. He hit the blunt without the shenanigans. They like, hey, hit the one with the shenanigans. Now he hit some PCP. So now he, you know, and I don't know if that chronologically happens before they do the house raid or whatever, but the point remains, like, if you're in the presence of this energy, it is easy to adopt it, especially if it's being impressed upon you. They said, hey, bro, like, we can come in your spot and turn it up if we want to, and we can make the most positive nigga in the room be filled up with hate if it's necessary. So it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, he showed, like, on multiple occasions, like, the will, or not even the will, but the ability to impose your ideals on another person, especially when you are in a collective unit. It's easier than a lot of people willing to give credit to.
But also, too, it's just that avenue. Look, these are people that he cares about. These are his friends. So, yeah, it definitely makes it that much easier, in a sense, for him to be influenced and to be in situations that can be detrimental to his future. Now, granted, I think it'll be a little bit harder for somebody you don't know trying to impose their will on you. But when it's come to people that you care about, I mean, that kind of shit comes with it a lot of times. Really, especially when you truly care about somebody. And these were people, I'm assuming, that he probably grew up with.
Yeah.
Honestly. So I can definitely see how he could have ended up in those situations for sure. And with his mom and his dad, they can't watch him every second of the day. They gotta work. They gotta do this to be able to provide for the household. So they can't. That's why she know what the fuck he was with this fucking van. Mom, I'll be back 15 minutes.
That nigga was gone.
All fucking day. She got appointments and shit. These kids gotta eat.
The food stamp.
Man, you know, I just changed my appointment.
Like, that nigga had been gone for a long time.
Like, she got shit to do. And I mean, she just happy that he come back home.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate thing. Like, yeah, she annoyed because she got shit to do, but ultimately, as long as he come back home and alive, there's another chance to love him. There's another chance to nurture him. And there's another chance to take care of him.
And I also think she understood the urgency came in this situation because it wasn't normal.
Yeah.
And that's why the pops was like, hey, like, look, I see, like, I'm sorry what happened to your partner. Like,
yeah,
don't go through what I went through. Like, I see we at a point where, you know, the expression of, like, these words have to be said now.
Yeah.
And they have to be said now in a way that they can be understood. Like, we speaking to you from a caring perspective. Like, we not on your head. Like, hey, man, just like, we understand. Just come on home. You know what I'm saying?
And we'll work through it.
Exactly. Like I can tell you from firsthand experience, that's not the road you want to go down. And his mama was like, look, you got so much positivity to give the world. You know what I'm saying? That's your job. That's what you're chosen for. That's what you should be doing. You know what I'm saying? They realigned his focus from two different perspectives. And I thought that was dope. Yeah. He got that good balance of the masculine and feminine energies in that time when you really need it. You know what I mean?
Like, his father's expression was all aloof, drunk for the most of the album. But when it got to that point, when it's time to step up and be a father, he stepped in that role immediately and did it in a way, like you said, it wasn't him coming down on him. It's just him talking to him as a person, as his son, like, as a man, like, you don't want to do this. I know from experience, I can tell you how this will end. This shit is no different. This is a different time, but it's the same situation. I promise you. It's not going to end well.
Especially coming from, you know, they grew up in Chicago. So, like, they're not, you know what I'm saying, like, ignorant to the type of stuff that happens in the inner city, especially where violence is prevalent.
And then that's outside of just the stuff with, like, civil rights issues. Yeah. And shit like that. Like, I come from a background or experience with violence from my own people and from the other side. So trust me, I know this shit's not going to end well for you, the road that you're going down.
So just come back, my brother.
Yeah, just come back home, man. We'll work through it, I promise you. So...
let's get to the next song in this 7 Deadly Sins sequence. Money Trees, which is greed. And it's also, like, tied into, you know, the faith element from the other side. It go Holly Berry or Hallelujah. Pick your poison, tell me what you're doing. And that just goes to show, like, okay, we got two sides. Like, we got the wickedness or weakness from Damn, like, 5 years earlier. You know what I'm saying? Like, he been on this stuff. It's just how he grows and matures in his ability to express these things in different ways. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, hey, like, the Holly Berry portion is more so like the lust for fame, the lust for women, the lust for whatever, or Hallelujah. You know what I'm saying? Taking that direction. Like, pick your poison, tell me what you're doing. And then, you know, in this perspective, he chose the Holly Berry. He chose the lust and the greed. You looking like an easy come up, you bitch. A silver spoon, I know you come from, you bitch. That's a built-in excuse right there. And that's a lifestyle that we never knew. Boom, the envy. I go at a reverend for the revenue. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that just lets you know, like, how much of a disconnect they have allowed themselves to have as far as sympathy and empathy for the other side. It's like, y'all got something that we probably will never have. So you not gonna miss what we come in to take for real because you got enough. And we need it more than you do. So boom, we kicking your dough in and we stealing all y'all shit because we know you gone during the daytime.
Dreams of living life like rappers do. Like rappers do. Back when condom rappers wasn't cool.
They wasn't cool. Our folks are raining when they tell my bros. Then Usher Raymond let it burn. Came on. No, I'm telling you, just like, damn, bro, like, it's a wild sequence of events. Like, you should be thinking about it. And that also just shows that his sense of awareness and understanding karma and cause and effect and action and consequence was always prevalent. You know, this just one of them days where it ain't just 1 and 2. You know what I'm saying? There's a level of gray that he's willing to sit in because he's been through some shit today.
And one thing I want to point out with the chorus that now that I'm looking at it again, it kind of stuck out with me. I'm just gonna give you my interpretation of it, and let's see if you agree with it. You say, yeah, pick your poison, tell me what you're doing. Everybody gonna respect the shooter, but the one that is in front of the gun lives forever. And what I took from that is, you not gonna be able to live. Yeah, you can kill me, that's fine, but you're not gonna be able to live with the fact that you literally took someone's life. And that's going to haunt you for the rest of your life. So the image or the spirit of me is always going to live on forever because you're not going to be able to live with the fact that you took someone's life.
And you made a martyr out of me.
Yeah.
Yep. And also, since we're talking about that and we're talking about what's the name, is like Jesus. Like, nobody remembers the names of those soldiers that did that.
Or who threw the stones.
Like, Jesus' names lives forever. And this has context, it bears context because of the faith aspect that's going through this album and the hallelujah that he just chanted in the beginning of the verse. So it's like, it's so many different ways to look at this. You know what I mean? So it's like, and with a person who's like has faith so interwoven into his music, for him to be in such a state of envy that he's willing to go at a reverend for it. You know what I mean? That just shows like how down bad he's feeling right now, and that thirst to have more and to live a life like the rappers do, you know what I'm saying, and see the people and live like the people that they see on TV that they aspire to attain the level of wealth that they have. They willing to do whatever it takes to get just a piece of it right now. Yeah. Let me see what else is. The A Dollar Might. I want to read that real quick. That whole little spiel. A dollar might just F your main chick. That's just how I feel. A dollar might say F them niggas that you came with. That's just how I feel. Yeah. A dollar might just make that lane switch. That's just how I feel. A dollar might turn to $1 million and we all rich. That's just how I feel. And that it's like the glorification of the dollar, but also looking at it from the perspective of it can lead you to do so many things that are outside of what you would consider your normal character. It's just like greed, you know what I mean? Like it's the manifestation of greed or personification of greed. Like, and the catalyst is the money, you know what I mean? Like the dollar make your girl who you thought was loyal to you leave you. You know what I mean? It'll make your best friend leave you. You know what I mean? It'll make that lane switch. It'll make you literally change your character for it. And then it could turn into $1 million and we all rich. Like it has so many different roles it could take. You know what I mean? But I gotta get the money first to see which road it's gonna take for me.
Honestly, I feel as though money to me is like the ultimate gateway drug in a sense. Because once you cross that line once, it's nothing at that point that you can't say that you're not willing to do once you cross that line. You're on the other side.
As Franklin sang. And I ain't even seen
that's exactly what the fuck his downfall was. Yeah. Exactly that. Like that shit, oh my God, that's so crazy.
From the reviews and stuff I've seen, that's what it seemed like. His greed got the best of him.
It did. And the fact that he was so calculated and he always thought he was the smartest person in the room. In most cases he was. However, that greed really beat him in the ass in the end. It really fucking did. But yeah, I just feel as though once you cross that line, it's nothing that you're not willing to do. If you ever need to do it again in the future, you'll do whatever it takes at that point. So honestly, that's why it's just so important to really have something grounded that you can stand in to where it makes it that much harder to compromise your morals. And if you don't have nothing that you can stand on, then I think you pretty much lost.
That's at that point. Good Kid and M.A.A.D City, like I said, those are like a run-on of the rap. The Good Kid, those verses, I can do the closing monologue for M.A.A.D City, but like as far as Good Kid, it's so much. It's literally the entire song.
Yep.
The first verse is about like the red and blue symbolism starts from that perspective. It's like, okay, I gotta worry about Like they'll catch me even walking out of Bible study, run down on me, for the gang shit. You know what I'm saying? And that's when that's when I see aggression from the red and blue. You know what I mean? In this instance, it's the gang. In the next instance, it's the police pulling me over or just running down on me, patting me down, throwing me across curbs, like, just doing me however, because they feel like I have an allegiance to something just because of how I look. I can just at any day I could get killed by the police or I could get killed by a gang just from being a good kid in this city. I'm susceptible to violence from both areas, and they both seem to have the same. Their presence is expressed in different ways, but the
outcome is the same.
The outcome is the same. Like that red and blue is coming regardless. Yeah. Like either it's Crips and Bloods or it's the police. And they both come in and do the same thing. Rob me of my innocence. Yeah. Rob me of my ability to maintain agency over myself. And then that turns into a person who gets beat down from it and results to the being in a room with the 20s, Xannies, and shrooms and the grown-up candy as he as he stated. You know what I'm saying? The streets should have released the worst side of my best. Don't mind, because now you will pay your debt, the good kid, M.A.A.D City. And at that point, he has nothing to lose. He lost his innocence, so now he's coming to get his lick back. You know what I mean? And that's the cycle that he's discussing. Like it could turn a M.A.A.D City could turn a good kid into a bad person. And that goes back to the other song. We can run into the most positive activist and turn him into an agent of chaos if necessary, just because of what we, what we project onto the world. And the fact that Kendrick is willing to do that, although it's happened to him, just goes to show like it only take the right time for it to happen to you before you decide to seek vengeance on the world. And I feel like the conclusion of Good Kid was that if he chose to take that road into that room, and that could have very well been the end goal for him. Yeah, that's what I got from that. And M.A.A.D City, it's just that is what would happen if he decided to what would happen from the bird's eye view of someone who decided to make that choice. From the very beginning all the way through the end, he's giving you, especially the first verse of M.A.A.D City before MC Eiht comes in. I take you on the trip down memory lane. And it's just how traumatic and stressful and draining that a day in this life could be. Like niggas hopping out, sliding vans with AKs, like wilding out, like hitting whoever in the way. Like everybody got their own path to take, but a lot of times those paths intersect and people end up becoming casualties of war for something they didn't even know about nor have anything to do with.
You killed my cousin back in 94.
Fuck your truce. You feel me?
Like, you got to live with that shit. That ain't got nothing to do with you.
Bodies on top of bodies. Ivies on top of ivies. Obviously, the coroner between the sheets like the Isleys. When you hop on that trolley, make sure your color's correct. Make sure your corporate, if you be calling the
Mother collect.
When we in traffic and tracks happen, that shit ain't no threat. You moving backwards if you suggested I should sleep with a tech. Go call a doctor and have a chopper on speed dial, I guess. M.A.A.D City. Like, bro.
That
like,
Eyes Brother line was crazy.
For real. And it's like, it's so deep to the point where, bro, you can't even walk the street with a Tech 9, my nigga. Where your chopper at? Like, niggas really out here taking folks' heads off with fully auto assault rifles. Like, they not playing. Like, it's to that level. It's really guerrilla warfare outside in the streets on a day-to-day basis. And for a good kid, that is super hard to navigate. So much so that he had to resort to running across MC Eiht for him to, like, kind of give him not the most positive way, but a way in itself how to survive in the M.A.A.D City like that. And it's basically become a product of your environment. But Kendrick ain't really trying to do that. And at the end, it leads to
Compton's human sacrifice.
And so I want to read the last part because it's very, very important. He said, if I killed a nigga at 16, would you believe me? Or see me to be innocent Kendrick you seen in the street with a basketball and some annihilators to eat? If I mentioned all of my skeletons, would you jump in the seat? If I, would you say that my intelligence now is great relief? And it's safe to say that our next generation maybe can sleep. With dreams of being a lawyer or doctor, instead of a boy with a chopper, they hold a cul-de-sac hostage. Kill them all if they got some. Children of the corn, they vandalizing the option of living a lie. Drown their body with toxins and constantly drinking and driving. Hit the powder and watch the flame that arrive in his eye. Listen, coward, the concept is aiming. Hold on, listen, coward, the concept is aiming and banging and slide out that bitch with a deposit price of his head. The ties probably go to the projects. I live inside the belly of the rough. Compton, USA, made me an angel on angel dust. What? Ooh. Stupid. Stupid. Like, it's like, bro, like he was, and that's why I'm like, bro, like niggas weren't, like, bro, he was rapping his ass off on this album, bro.
God damn, my angels on angel dust, nigga.
And that's what M.A.A.D stands for.
Huh?
My angels on angel dust. And also my angry adolescents divided. And also there was a group. There was a West Coast group in the 90s. It was M.A.A.D something. They saying that.
I never knew that.
I learned it recently.
That's my angels on angel dust. That's tough, bro. Damn.
And it just goes like this. His story from when he had PCP. When he had the, you know. But yeah, bro, the nigga said, if I told you I killed a nigga at 16, would you believe me? Like, don't like. What they call it? What they say? Something can be deceiving. What? I can't remember, but it's like it's a common phrase. But they say such and such can be deceiving. But yeah, it's like, bro, like it's wild out here. Like I live in one of the wildest places to live in the world, and like your perception of me, or your idea of me being intelligent can make you feel like everything is okay here, but it's not. You know.
That's crazy, bro. That was, oof. Damn.
You know what I'm saying? With dreams of being a lawyer or a doctor instead of a boy with a chopper to hold the cul-de-sac hostage. You know what I'm saying? Like there's, like just because you see one of me doesn't mean 10 more of the other ones don't exist. So don't relax yourself. Like I'm also a product of this. I just chose another route, but there is still a very present set of active ingredients that create the opposite person, and that type of person is running rampant through the city that I live in. You know what I mean? Compton, USA, made me an angel on angel dust.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? So that shit like that. Like that's probably the pinnacle part of this album to me because it says so much. And I think second is Sing About Me Dying of Thirst as a collective. But that, especially for it to be so that short, is probably the most important and poignant part of the entire album for me. Because it calls the question, how real is your perception? Like, okay, I look innocent. You know, and I may talk well, but that doesn't change the fact of where I come from. And please don't forget that. And don't think it's sweet when you get here. Just because you saw an innocent kid in the street with some annihilators.
Yeah.
You don't know who I robbed to get these. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know. You just completely unaware unless you've been here. That's why he made it such a point to like introduce you to where he at. Let's see what I got next because we're nearing the end. Swimming pools, gluttony. I didn't get a lot. I don't really think I grabbed any lines from that one because it's purely the gluttony is like the overindulgence in something, and the overindulgence in this particular instance was the alcohol, and everybody knows that swimming is a song about alcoholism and the many different entry points that you have into it. It's whether you want to be socially accepted, whether, it's passed down in a hereditary fashion through, you know, you just see your granddaddy drinking, you see your daddy drinking, you exposed to it early, you get started. Now you know what I'm saying? So some people deal with depression and that's how they cope with it, you know. So it's a lot of different entry points. And he just got caught into it trying to be accepted. And it led him down a road that he didn't want to go to, because now he got escorted outside somewhere and got jumped. And that's what led to the pinnacle of this project. So you know, without further ado, let's go ahead and, because that one was pretty simple, let's go into Sing About Me. Is there anything you want to discuss before we get into what is quite possibly the climax of the album?
Yeah, I mean, when I did my like shuffle of the album, like that was the last song to me. So I mean, really just the whole, like, this ain't really just like one particular thing I want to just pull out of. It's just like the whole song, like, from start to finish, really.
And it's 49 minutes, it feel like. But and you know, and Sing About Me, especially if you've heard Keisha's song or Section 80 in general, this seems like a song that is trying to make amends, in a sense, for how he feels people responded, or how they felt about how they received. That's the word I'm looking for. How they received Keisha's song.
Yeah. What he said? You wrote a song about my sister on your tape on Section 80, and it makes you resemble Brenna's Got a Baby. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that whole verse. Because at that point he was trying to reconcile talking to the sister of Keisha. And he was saying that he made the song so people could understand what she went through, and people that's going through what she going through what she went through could see that there's a way out, and also see where that life could, you know, lead you. And the irony is the sister is very much still immersed in that life. And it was to a point where Kendrick kind of came into the decision where he felt as though she couldn't be helped. And that's why they crossfaded her voice like that, to the point where he couldn't hear her anymore. That was probably like my favorite part of that song, honestly. It's also kind of like a double entendre in the sense that it just kind of like dialogue between men and women. I know I'm kind of guilty of this too, but like when you arguing and you just get to a point where you just don't hear shit out, everything just fade the hell out. Your mind made up.
You know what I'm saying? You don't hear nothing else they're saying. You just see them moving, but it's almost like they just go on mute. And artistically, I love how he did that, where you can still hear everything she's saying, but it just like slowly faded out to the point where you can. I was listening to that today. I was at the mall. I was doing some shopping earlier. And just when that part came out, I was like, ooh, it's kind of eerie. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I really appreciate just like the artistry just on how he chose to end that verse like that. And just kind of fade her out. Like, I think that was really dope.
And I also think like with the fading, and since you mentioned that, it's kind of dope because both of them faded in different ways. The guy that died off, his fade was immediate. He faded into the background because they both did. They just did in different ways. They both faded further away from Kendrick because they continued to get immersed in that life and they couldn't get out of it. And he was like, if I die before your album, hope. And if I die before your album drop, I hope. You know what I'm saying? Like, he had already admitted, or was already like finding an sense of acceptance with he may not live too much longer, but the life that he was in, that's what he's accustomed to. That's what he's clinging to. So he is willing to go out that way to especially avenge his brother. You know what I mean? And rectify a lot of stuff that's went on in his life. But the only way he knows how to do it is through the methods that created all of this chaos in the first place.
Cycle of hatred.
Exactly. So it's like it was inevitable almost. So he faded from a point of being able to be helped. Like, and that's why he was like, if I die before your album drop, I hope you sing about me. Like, I hope you keep me alive, because the way that I'm leading my life, I won't be alive much longer. And it's in a point where I can't get out if I wanted to because of the way that I perceive it. You know what I'm saying? It's so ingrained in me that I can't let it go because it's all I've ever known. And with the girl, you know, the first time she was introduced into sexual activity was by way of with multiple people. So of course her perception of that, you know, made it okay for her to be able to like she views sex differently, you know. So at this point, she's like, why not use it to get me what I need when I need it? You know what I'm saying? And she's so far gone, quote unquote, to the point where she was like, the only way you can help me is help me sell it. So he was like, okay, you can't be helped, but I'm trying to tell the story. So the people that I can help, and I think that was what it was too. It's like I'm having a conversation with two different people I can't help, but in telling their story, which is the third verse, I'm looking to tell their story to help other people, you know, because you may not be able to help everybody, but, you know, sharing their stories, especially in ways like this, you can help thousands more people, you know, than those two people that you couldn't help. Their stories could help save thousands, if not millions, you know what I'm saying? So he felt like he had the duty to tell their story, or those stories in general.
It's like, you can help me sell this pussy for me, nigga.
Don't ignore me, nigga. And he said, in the third verse,
that's crazy, bro.
He's like, by any means wasn't trying to offend or come between personal life. I was like, I need to be told. Some generations after, let me pull it up because I got to get that part. Because it was super important. It was.
I got it right here.
Hold on. Okay, here we go. Pardon us. He said, and really stuck in the scheme of wondering when I'm arrested. You're right, your brother was a brother to me, and your sister situation was the one that pulled me in a direction to speak on something that's realer than the TV screen. By any means wasn't trying to offend or come between her personal life. I was like, it need to be told. Cursing the life for 20 generations after her soul. Exactly what had happened if I ain't continue rapping or steady being distracted by money, drugs, and 4-5s. I count lives all on these songs. Look at the weak and cry. Pray one day you'll be strong, fighting for your rights, even when you're wrong. And hope that at least one of you sing about me when I'm gone. Am I worth it? Did I put enough work in? Promise that you will sing about me. So it's like he understands that at the end of everybody's life, there is a story to be told. Mm-hmm. Whether or not it'll be told is based on the person who decides to tell it. But the job that you have as someone who's alive is to live your life in the way that you will want your story to be told. Mm-hmm. So all you can do is ask or hope somebody will sing about you. But your job is to live a life that is worthy of being told.
And that's one thing, and I'll probably say pretty much that's the end for me on that one. Mm-hmm. People try to live such a grandiose life to where they want to touch so many different people so their story can continue. But ultimately, if you live your life a certain way, you only need to really touch one person.
Yeah.
Your legacy can live on through that person. Your story can be told through that person. Your visions, your hopes, your dreams can stay alive. You just need to touch one person. That's all it takes. Now, granted, of course, that can spread, but I feel as though just the fact that people try to go to such lengths to be so known in certain situations instead, like that it turns into a detriment for them. So I think that's just kind of important, and that's why he was just saying, like, yeah, like you said, just please sing about me. You know, don't forget me. So I think that's really, like, this song is just too layered, bro. Like,
yeah.
Like you would really need like a whole segment just to break that down.
Yeah. And we're kind of running up against it. So, but I do want to say, for Dying of Thirst, in one sentence, it is the culmination of one person being tired of the cycle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like I've seen it well enough to be able to describe it. You know what I'm saying? So I've gotten to a point where I'm done. Like them losing the brother and the midst of gang violence was that moment to like, okay, it's real. Like it can happen to you. It can happen to the person closest to you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that was the catalyst for change in this. And that's when the lady emerges and says a prayer, you know, and has them recited to give their life to Christ, you know, and that at the end of Dying of Thirst symbolizes the baptism before Kendrick ends his verse. So hop in the water and pray that it works. So that they went through a metaphorical baptism at the end of that and came out renewed. How they chose to live their life after that is to be determined.
Yeah.
But they went through that process, and I feel like it allowed Kendrick to continue to move forward with a renewed sense of who he was meant to be. So even if it did not help them, it reaffirmed to Kendrick who he was, even in the midst of heightened peer pressure and gang violence, when it is at him the most, and he could have the most validation in a sense to respond and to fall deeper into that. They got to the point where someone was able to reach them. And at the very least, Kendrick was able to wake up and realize what was most important. Not only from her, it reaffirmed what he believed, and it reaffirmed what his parents thought. And then the parents came in with the voicemail, which also just made it even more not important, but even more pivotal at that point in time that, okay, this is the breaking point. You got to decide. You got to decide.
And that's why I think those two songs in particular, Black Boy Fly and Now or Never, is definitely something set or experienced after that, in a sense, rebirth at the end of Dying of Thirst. Because at that point, he comes to the realization and accept who he truly is. So now that I know who I am, I can truly be introspective and understand and see what led me here and what I need to do to move forward. The introspective was Black Boy Fly, how he went through all his influences in terms of the music side of things, and how he seen Aaron the Follow, like how he was able to escape that lifestyle by doing what he was great at, doing it what he loved, which was playing basketball. Went to UCLA, had a pretty decent career in the NBA. I don't think he ever won like a championship, but he was a pretty decent like defender, 6-man type. Like he had a decent career.
Yeah. And from Compton, or a place that they didn't think you could make it out, period.
Yeah.
He made it. Like him just getting to college was an accomplishment.
Yeah.
And then him getting in the NBA was like, it made him a legend.
And then seeing people like The Game, another person where he's from, and people ride around bumping his music like, oh, I could be that. Like I could, if he can do it, I can do it too. And now he's at his moment with the Now or Never song with Mary J. Blige, where he's in the moment. Is now or never to take advantage and can take control of his career. And I think that's when he made the decision to like, I'm gonna make the music that I want to make in this moment. And that's when we got To Pimp a Butterfly, which is something that is very polarizing to most people, but ultimately that's his art. And that's the moment that he chose to seize and make after such a successful album like this. Most people think it was a mistake to make that album following up this one, but clearly with the type of intent that he carries, like clearly he made that for a reason. And I think after, like you said, the rebirth, and he just went those two pivotal moments, and that ultimately just catapulted him through the rest of his career, I feel.
Hold on. I said somebody at the beginning of this episode I got to take back.
What?
To Pimp a Butterfly is the best album of 2010s. I'm tripping. Good Kid, M.A.A.D City is in the top 5. Yeah. But To Pimp a Butterfly is, without question, pardon me, I'm glad you said that. To Pimp a Butterfly is without question the best song of the 2010s. Not My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Not none of that. To Pimp a Butterfly. Continue. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, that's just the point I was making when you said about him diving in the water, and I hope it works. And like I said, it just made me just make that connection. I feel. I think that was a good connection to make. Because like I said, those songs on the bonus tracks, I definitely feel as though they were made like after the fact, or they just, like you said, they didn't fit the initial narrative or what he was trying to paint with the album for sure. So, but you can definitely put that in like that for sure.
Yeah.
So I definitely enjoyed this album like 100%. It stands the test of time. It's 100% a classic. I don't care what nobody say.
And I listen to that bullshit. It's gonna fade out just like it did with Shawty.
Yeah.
Don't ignore me, nigga.
It's a fucking classic. And I just want to say, just shout out to Kendrick Lamar for sure. And I truly respect your craftsmanship and how you move and how you do things. Of course, I respect the bars, honestly, because you can rap your ass off in a battle sense, but also just in a way like just to express yourself. Like, you know how to vividly express yourself to the point where everything is felt in that particular moment. That's why I think he compares himself a lot to Tupac. because Tupac was the same way. Like, he was very expressive, and you felt everything that he was saying. And then with Kendrick, how he goes through the different voice inflections and voices, he's able to express himself even more
from different perspectives. It feels like,
yeah. So it's just like, he definitely, like Kendrick, I just want to say that I definitely feel like you came into your own as an artist for sure. And ultimately, if you don't make another album today, I mean, ever again, like, I'm fine with what you've given us. Like, your discography is solid. Nobody can touch that. Nobody can actually say, like, you have a bad discography. Not even close. So, yeah, I mean, I just want to say that for sure. I mean, I know you probably weren't ready, but it just kind of led into that.
I just put the code. You'll get the code in first. We just didn't announce it, but that's cool. It was right on time anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, like DJ was saying, this is our Sincerely Decipher segment. Kendrick, amazing body of work, brother. Yeah, man, you showed, like, you created and you laid the groundwork for the renaissance of creative, for creative art, introspective and genuine art form and genuine appreciation for the art form for your era. Of course, it existed before you and it exists after you, but there was a huge period of time prior to people like you and J. Cole coming on the scene, and Drake to some respects coming on the scene, that it was dying off.
Yep.
That's why Nas was so upset. But yeah, man, thank you so much for infusing the life that you did and that you have into hip hop as a genre. Your accolades reflected the craft. The people who are really into the craft appreciate it as such. Like I said, the accolades, the sales, the critical acclaim, the love of the fans, the critics looking at it from a certain perspective, the literary experts, the Pulitzer prizes, all of this stuff. Like, it's happening for a reason. You know what I mean? You're truly dedicating your time, energy, creativity, and perspective, which is the most important of all three, into the craft. And that's what makes it so important and pivotal. So yeah, man, all we can really say is thank you. Just continue to do what you're doing. Amazing body of work. And looking back at your career, like, who would have thought that you get to the point of Mr. M.A.A.D from this? The talent was always there. It's just nobody can ever, see the end point or where it could get. We just know in the moment you're witnessing greatness. So yeah, man, we appreciate what you've contributed. If that's it, all we can do is appreciate it. But if there is more, we'll be happy to hear it when it's time to.
100%.
Oh yeah, and last thing, I started off with the 7 deadly sins. I just got to give them in order one more time. Shireen, lust; money trees, greed; swimming pools, gluttony; backseat freestyle, pride; wrath is Good Kid, M.A.A.D City. Well, Good Kid and M.A.A.D City. Sing About Me is sloth, and the art of peer pressure is envy. And as I wrap that up, one more thing I want to do is shout out all of the producers who were tapped into this project. DJ Dahi, Hit Boy, Jack Splash, Just Blaze, Like, Pharrell Williams, Rocky, Scoop DeVille, Sky Hutch, Soundwave, T-Minus, Taboo, Terrace Martin, THC, and The Business. And as always, that is another episode of DeCypherEd. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Helps us grow on the algorithm. If you know somebody that likes hip hop, let them know. We will be glad to have them a part of the DMG family. And as always, until next time, peace.